Welcome to Level Up Chips Esports Edition. Hello everybody and welcome to Level Up Chips Esports Edition. My name is Michael Gonzalez and I am joined by, what is your name, good sir?
That would be Ryan Brown. I am the Esports Program Coordinator for Central Michigan University Esports, but you can call me Gortek.
Gortek. Why Gortek?
So that's my gamer tag that I've had since I was, maybe 10 years old. Reason being, I was playing World of Warcraft, and I was like, hey, I want to make a character that I can level up max level. Like, I want this to be my first max level character. And I made a troll mage, and I was like, what's a name that sounds like it would belong to a troll? And Gortek is what came out, and I was like, all right, and I just kind of ran with it, and it just stuck.
I actually thought it was going to be something about Fallout, because I swear there is, like, a character that I think, like, a comic book that's always in the universe that, like, his name's something like that.
Total ripoff. I trademarked. It's all me. They should be paying me royalties every time somebody plays that game. Is really how it should be working.
Like Bethesda would do that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, exactly.
So we're here actually to talk about esports, not Fallout. Tell me a little bit about what you do over at the esports, lounge or arena.
The Esports Activity Center, but we're going to refer to it as the arena because that's what I do. So my role as the program coordinator is essentially I am like a liaison between our teams, our administrative team, and the leagues that we compete in. So a lot of what I do is just when we talk to captains or we have meetings as an administrative team, I reach out to captains or I reach out to players and say, hey, here's what we need from you. As well as asking them, like, hey, what are some things that we can do to improve? I send out, like, surveys and just, hey, what have we been doing that has helped you? What has hurt you as players? Like, what can we do better? So that's a lot of what the job entails. And then just communicating with the different leagues and figuring out reschedules and all that kind of stuff.
Reschedules for what? I'm just curious.
So each game has, like, a default time that they play at. But sometimes, like, in our case, we've had 2 spaces in previous years that we could use. And so if we had 3 teams that all had default games at that time, it's like, okay, we need to reach out to these teams and see if one of them is willing to play on a different night, or each of the leagues has their own like reschedule policies, and so it just kind of depends on the team and the games and what we can do.
Well, it sounds like that's a lot of work. You're coordinating for what, 9 different games?
9 different titles this year, yeah.
So I think what I have at the moment, just to list it off for everybody, there is overall Counter-Strike Global Offense, Fortnite, League of Legends, Overwatch, Rainbow Six Siege,
let's go,
Rocket League. I said that. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Super Smash Bros, Valorant, and Call of Duty. And I swear there's got to be like another one. I'm pretty sure that
No, that's all 9. That's Call of Duty Vanguard is our newest edition. We're just adding that on this year.
Oh, geez, wow. I'm actually a little surprised it's Vanguard because I
Me
thought
too.
it would be Warzone.
They've
or
done
something
Warzone
like
for the past couple of years. This year they just decided to do Vanguard, and we're like, all right, we'll make it work. So
that is what it is. But so one of the things I gotta say, a lot of people, they know me for knowing a lot of games. We do all sorts of stuff about Nintendo, about, just a lot of the single player stuff. I don't think that I talk too much about the multiplayer stuff. And I mean, come on, that's all you guys do. That's the whole basis of esports. And I don't know too much about that. What is so like important about esports to you?
I think the biggest thing for me is that esports is about building a community. Like, that's the problem that a lot of these things have when you have just the solo player campaigns. Like, don't get me wrong, I love doing that. It's fun to play those games and just like feel like you accomplished something on your own. But when you get to step into an arena with 5 or 6 other people who have the same mindset as you, as I love video games, but I love the competition. It's such a unique experience, and just the community that you form with other people with that like-minded mindset of like, hey, we are good, individually, but we want to figure out what it's like to play together, to communicate, work as a team, kind of thing. And there's so much you can accomplish when you do that. There's some very cool opportunities.
And I know that you do play one of the games that was on that list, Rainbow Six, right?
Yes, I've been on the Rainbow Six team for 3 years, 2 years while it was a club team, and then we just got onboarded as a varsity team this past year.
Wow. Okay, so your guys are stepping it up. All right.
We're working at it. We're working hard. Well, the biggest thing for us, we were very jealous. I'm going to be honest with you. We were jealous as a club team because the varsity teams got these cool jerseys that I'm wearing right now. So we would most of us, like when you're at home, we would like stream the games. We had a second monitor. Several of the team, we would just have printouts of these jerseys and we just tape it to the monitors, our second monitors. And we're like, that's what we're working for right there.
That's the one.
That's the push. We want to be varsity, not because of the arena. I mean, it would have helped to not have connectivity issues, like have decent internet. But we were just like, we want those jerseys. And so, like, that was a hype thing for us to kind of work towards.
So, you finally made it to
got the jerseys.
You got the jerseys. Hey, that is something. So, you were talking a bit about, a team. What does that look like for something like Rainbow Six? I mean, I want to see examples because I don't know what the hell that really means.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is the communication and working on the strategies is the big difference. And so when we talk about playing those solo campaigns, it's really easy to just run through and just do whatever you want. But when you're in this like multiplayer competitive scene, you have to work together. Everybody has to have a role. Everybody has to know what their role is. So for me, like when I'm playing Siege, I was our heart breacher. And so we'd have like 2 entry fraggers. So their job is to be the first ones in the door, get the first couple picks, start clearing the way so that our support players, like myself as a hard breacher, I can get in, open up the hard walls to go in for a plant, try and open up lines of sight for our other teammates to be holding angles and to help us out, So the biggest thing is like, so if you look at the defensive side of it, so that's like attacker. So from the defensive side of it, my main operator, Jaeger, he's got these ADS is what they're called. So they're like anti-air devices, and so you put them on the ground, and then if somebody throws a grenade by it, it'll like zap it out of the air, and then it has like a cooldown before it can do that again. Wow. So as a team, we have to go through and practice and say, okay, this is our site. So let's say we're on a map like Chalet, we're on top floor, master bedroom. We're like, okay, we have 10 reinforcements. Where do we need these reinforcements? Like, what walls do we want it to be the hardest for them to get through? Like, where do we want our safe spots to be? And then we have to say, okay, we've got mute jammers that'll like make it so you can't use electronics near the mute jammer. ADS, they can't throw grenades through here. Where do we need to put these to have the most successful setup? Like we have a shield. We want to put it on top of the piano so you can stand behind the piano and have full cover of your entire body, So the biggest thing is just working on those strategies together, it's complicated and it's not easy to do, but it is a lot of fun when we have a new map that gets thrown into the map pool and we're like, okay, how are we going to do this? And so we're breaking down every site. So every map, there's 9 maps in the competitive pool. Every map has 4 bomb sites on it. And we have to have strategies for at least 3 of those sites on every single map. So it's a lot of like working on the strategies, memorizing the game tactics, how we want to play, where we want to play, who we want to play. But just the introduction of like, okay, here's the new map. How do we want to break down this site? Was very cool. And there were some things that we didn't get to till like the end of the season where we're like, hey, this map, we never play this map, but it's a very similar setup to the way we play this other map. Let's try building some strats. And so like at the end, like 3 weeks left in the semester, we had like 1 game and playoffs left. And we're like, let's just build a setup for Villa. Let's just work on our Villa sites. Let's just make some new strategies and all that kind of stuff. And they worked flawlessly. We had amazing setups because everybody worked together. We knew what we were doing and took the time to kind of build those together.
Wow. And, I got to say, you're saying a lot of things, and I'm like, plant all this stuff, and I get it. I'm starting to understand.
It's a lot. Yeah, Siege is probably the hardest one to talk about because there's a lot of things that it doesn't make a lot of sense.
And I remember seeing like the E3 trailer for it when it first got announced, all that stuff. And I remember thinking, wow, there's so much going on. Just to think that there's esports stuff where it's basically just bear with me, Rainbow Six, it's all about basically like bombs and hostage situations, stuff like that. Yeah. And for that to be, a full-on competitive game, it's kind of amazing to think that, I don't know, you guys have almost this like SWAT-like team that you're always doing strategies with.
Yeah.
And just as kind of an interesting thing, back when I was in 5th grade, I was in basketball. And I don't know why you were saying a lot of things. I was like, this is starting to, bring back some memories that I never thought of. Back then, I remember there were strategies and people would yell out code names for those strategies, kind of those, like secret things that the other team might not know what that is. Do you guys do stuff like that?
So when we are playing, we're not always playing against other people like in the same location. We've been able to do that, fortunately for us. But typically when we're in the arena, it's just our team. So we talk about like, oh, let's do, the B setup on this site or whatever. So we can do that kind of stuff. What we have is we have a lot of different names for different locations. So when somebody, let's say I am getting pressured from, I'll call out to the team like, hey, there's, Mozzie is in Harry Potter. And that means Mozzie is under the stairs, is what that means.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we'll say, oh, Wamai is holding Pixel. Pixel is this location on Cafe where you can put a shield there, and when you're holding an angle at that spot, it's like between two hallways. So there's one pixel between the doorway all the way to the window.
Oh,
and so
wow.
you have to aim for that pixel between the doorways if you want to try and hit him. So
It's just perfect.
yeah, so you got to have really good aim to do that kind of stuff. So we have like different names for sites like that. Favorite probably being Harry Potter, because there's a Harry Potter on every site. Like there's always somewhere he can be under the stairs.
That's actually, oh my gosh, it's like Harry Potter, what's that all about? Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Oh my gosh, and I think the big thing that when I was going into tryouts, just checking everything out, analyzing all the stuff, I realized, Rainbow Six is a first-person shooter.
Mm-hmm.
So is Counter-Strike, so is Call of Duty, so is Valorant, so is Overwatch. You guys have so many different first-person shooters, but I know for a fact that none of the strategies that you have in Rainbow Six can play out in CSGO or in Overwatch. I mean, you don't have exactly that kind of pixel or Harry Potter, type of thing over in Overwatch.
Yeah. They have their own kind of call-outs and stuff, but yeah, the mechanics between each of the games is just so different that even though they're all first-person shooters, like you can't hop in from Siege into CS:GO and expect the same level of gameplay and expect the same things coming at you because, yeah, they're just so drastically different between games.
So you go through Rainbow Six and all the stuff. Do you watch the esports like live streams of those types of games?
So I watched the Pro League games. Like they just had the Berlin Major last week, and I spent 30 hours over the course of the week just watching these teams play. And to see people compete at that level, like we think we have a lot going on and we're playing pretty hard, we're playing pretty well. To see people compete at that level is just insane. And it's helpful for us to have those kind of things, like to look at those higher level skills and fall back on those. It's like, okay, here's how they made. So we'll watch during VOD reviews when we're building strategies. We'll go back and we'll say, hey, we're going to work on making strats for Bank this week. Everybody go through, watch, a Pro League match of Bank. Like I'll do this one, you do this one. Break down their strategies for their defense of this site. Like that's your responsibility. So break down. So go through, watch it, track, okay, where's every shield going, where's every ADS going, every reinforced wall, every Wamai magnet, how are they building their sites? And then we'll look at those together and see how we can adapt those to fit our play style.
That's a lot to do. I mean,
it's a lot, but it's worth it to have that level of commitment and then to be able to come together as a team and build something really cool.
That sounds really neat. So one of the things, the big thing about this podcast, this new, series that we're doing is helping people understand, the different types of games for the esports division. And I was curious. So, you watch those Rainbow Six ones, the lingo, all the different things of what they're doing technically. Do you watch any other types of games like Fortnite or CSGO, Overwatch, any of those esports games? And if you do you understand the lingo? Do you look at it and you're like, I don't know what they just did, but they did it?
Um, I see a few things like that. So I don't. So when I watch back these other games, so I'll watch our other teams when they compete. I'll watch CS:GO, I'll watch Fortnite and stuff like that. I don't always get to hear the call outs depending on what kind of stream I'm watching. But if I'm watching like a person's perspective, so like Flash is
CS:GO.
our CS:GO captain.
Yep.
So I'll watch him when he streams his perspective. But when he streams that, I'll hear him make a call out, and I'm like, I have no idea what he's talking about. He just killed a guy here, so I'm assuming that's what he's talking about. But a few weeks ago, as we were testing out this new software in our arena, I went through when we were testing it out, and I went through with him, and I played a couple matches of CS:GO with him, and he would make a call out to me, and I'm just like, dude, I have no idea what you just told me, and he'd be like, oh, it's this place. I'm like, oh, I got it now, and I just like hold this angle he told me to, but. Yeah, it's so drastically different than what I'm used to.
That's actually so interesting that you play with him and everything, and you're like, okay, this is my life now.
Yeah, so there's actually cool opportunities like that. So we have a club Discord. So back when we used to just be a club, so we still have that club Discord is active. So like anybody can join that from the university. You can join this Discord, and then there's all kinds of different games, not just our competitive titles, but there's a channel for Tarkov or Minecraft and stuff like that. And you can just get in and you just play games with other people. They're not necessarily our varsity players. A lot of them will do play on there. Like you'll see Valorant is probably more active than anybody else in that chat. So like every night they're posting on there, hey, we're going to do some 10-mans tonight. Like who wants to play? So you do have the opportunity to like play with everybody and just get to know all these people. And then sometimes it does facilitate that, interest in esports from playing at the club level. And so it's very cool. Yeah.
That's like one of the coolest things, I'm blanking out on his title, but Phil,
Yeah. He's, I believe, the associate director of sports programming.
I'm never going to remember that.
I'm sorry, Phil, if I said that wrong.
And
don't fire me.
I'm sorry, Phil, for never remembering that ever in my life. It just went over my head. Anyway, Phil, he was telling me about how the esports teams, you guys have about like 46 different majors. When I first, went in, I was like, okay, you guys, you're, in it for
I think it was 26.
26? Okay.
I think we had like 40 this past year. I believe we had 49 students on our roster from 26 different majors.
Okay, that's what it was. Semester. 26. Okay. You know what? The numbers are looking a little bit right, but but it's amazing because I'm looking at all the statistics, and it's stuff like accounting, biochemistry, computer science, which is a given. It's the larger one, but even stuff like meteorology, mechanical engineering, physics. These people, they're doing all this stuff, and you guys, you're building that community. I mean, how does it feel having so many different people from, so many different walks of life?
It's very cool because, especially for a lot of us, like, video games are one of those things that since we were kids and we were playing video games, it's such an easy way for you to connect with other people because anybody can play video games. You don't have to be good, to hop on like Fortnite or Valorant or something just to play with people. My girlfriend's the captain of the Fortnite team. I'm not saying it's easy to play Fortnite. I want to say it, make it very clear before I get yelled at when I get home. I'm just making it very clear right now. Not saying it's easy to play. However, it's so easy to hop on any of these games and just play. It doesn't have to be this super competitive. You don't have to be this crazy hardcore esports player. So it's so easy to connect with people playing video games, and so to be able to step aside from this like casual play and be able to build these communities that are even more in depth, it's a very cool opportunity.
And that's really cool. And I know, what was it? You're having tryouts next week, right?
Yeah. So the first week of the semester, Monday through Thursday, I got the dates right here if I remember what they are. I believe it's August 29th through September 1st. We're having tryouts for all of our varsity teams.
Oh man, I don't hold it, to me. I'm not making any promises, but I've been playing a lot of Fortnite lately. A lot of people might not know that because I didn't think it was that cool until I saw that Blanca and Chun-Li were in there, and I was like, okay, it's cool now. But I've been playing it a lot for all the Dragon Ball stuff, and I might be trying out. I might be figuring out. I want to learn more of the mechanics, how to really get into it, because I think that's actually kind of a fun game.
Shelbs and Cheese, the Fortnite captain, will be very excited to hear that.
All right.
So we had an event last night. Actually, we ran this event for Impact, and it was just kind of an open play thing. Anybody could show up and play, and we had a lot of like incoming freshmen that just were interested, and they came to just play, and they were casually playing, and then they would be playing really well, and we'd go up to them and be like, "Hey, have you ever thought about competing in esports? Like, we have varsity tryouts next week." And they're like, "Whoa, I didn't even know that was an option," you know? So we had, I would say, a dozen people that came through last night, all playing Fortnite, and Shelbs took time to speak with every one of them and get them to fill out that form so they could come to tryouts.
You know, that's actually pretty cool. I think that it's really neat, what you guys do. I wish I knew how to do it though, and what's stopping people from, trying out? Is there anything to really, say, I don't know if this is for me?
So there's nothing to really stop you from trying out. Like, even if you go and you don't get offered a spot, like maybe we'll reach out and be like, "Hey, we don't necessarily have a spot on the varsity roster for you this semester, but we do have the club Discord. You can hop in there, play games if you want to compete for our club team, give you kind of a little bit more experience in competing." That would be an option for you. We also have the potential where, like, we've had players who get offered a spot on the varsity roster and they're like, "Well, after doing the tryouts, I don't know if this is really for me," and that's okay. And we still offer them, here's the club Discord. If you want to just play casually, just meet up with some people, do that. We have people who've been offered a starter spot and they're like, "Hey, I'd rather be a sub. I've got a lot of other time commitments." And it's like, all right, that's fine. So there's really nothing stopping you from trying out. The only real requirements, and I'll say this, you have to be a full-time student for whatever that is. So 12 credits at CMU as an undergrad, or 9 credits if you're a graduate student. So you have to be full-time, and you have to have you essentially just have to keep up with your grades. So we do have like a program where for us, our requirement is you have to have a 2.5 GPA or higher. We do have the option, so if you try out and you're a little under that, if you're between, I think it was this past semester was a 2.0 and a 2.5. If you're between that, we have regular study sessions. So it's like, oh, you have to go to one of these a week, and we have to see improvement in your grades. We have to make sure, you're keeping up with your grades, because obviously that is our number one priority. We want all of our students to be students. As much as we want to prioritize esports, it's like, you're here for education. Like, we want to keep you responsible for doing that. So,
well, how do those look like? I'm always that sounds really neat. Just having a study session with people who you play CS:GO with.
I mean, it's a lot more casual than you'd think. It's not like super intensive. Like, oh, we're gonna work on this today. It's you show up. It's like, you got homework. All right, do it. Like, you just kind of just make sure it's more of a way to keep people on top of doing homework and doing all these kind of things. And you have to they'll check your grades every week, or they'll have you submit grades every month or whatever it is. That'd be a Phil question. I don't know. But regardless, it's like the whole point is we just want to make sure that you're getting your work done. Like, we'll keep on top of your grades and make sure that you're putting in the work outside of the arena that you really need to do to be competitive.
Yeah.
Because ultimately for us, when you're out there competing, you're representing our school. So we don't want somebody who is only doing esports and they're going to school and they don't actually go to school or go to class or do any of that, because it's like that you might be good, but that doesn't represent how we want our school to look, and the same thing goes for toxicity. One of the biggest things we look out for during tryouts is while the captains are running tryouts, evaluating skill, we have somebody from the administrative team, myself or Phil, we'll be in the Discord call, or we'll be in the arena with you guys, and we're listening for somebody who's being toxic and they're not, cooperating with other teammates. They're, talking to the other like, "Oh, you're terrible. Go home, whatever." Because if you're doing that stuff in casual, why should we expect you not to do it in a competitive match when you're playing against other universities, when you have CMU on your gamer tag? Or CMish on your gamer tag, you're wearing the jersey. We don't want you going around representing CMU that way, or our program.
And not to mention, you guys usually have the competitions, live streamed, right?
Yeah, so we do a lot of live streams and stuff like that. So we don't want people looking at CMU like, "Oh, they're letting this person be toxic." We don't want those people speaking for our program, because we're trying to build something here. We're trying to grow our community. So that's one of those big things that we look out for. is toxicity.
And it seems like, it's been working for you guys, because, I saw that, what was it, the cumulative GPA for all these where it was, 3.2?
3.24, I believe,
Yeah.
was a cumulative across all 8 of our teams that we had last year. And we had 2 teams, Fortnite and Rainbow Six, shout out my boys on Rainbow Six, that had an average above a 3.5.
Which, that's huge
Yeah.
to have so many different teams and you guys, keeping it up there. It seems like everything's been working out. So honestly, that's really good, cool to see.
Yeah.
As kind of like a final thing, I was thinking, this could be a good 30-minute episode, something like that, just to get it started. But
I was prepping for 4 hours, but I guess I can make 30 minutes work.
you have something at 4 or something like that. But anyway, so people are, might not know how esports work. I was someone kind of like that. And coming up with all these different episodes to talk a little bit more about what these games are, how, the community works, the person who's watching these live streams, what's so fun about watching, these people compete?
I think it's different for everybody. So when I watch like Pro League, I enjoy watching the casters or listening to the casters because it's always entertaining because it's just like what we're doing right now. We're just having a conversation. Except in that case, our conversation is revolved around what's going on in the game right now. And so I always think it's entertaining more because I like the energy of the casters. Like when they're getting hyped, like looking at this content, like I get hyped listening to them. I get hyped watching the content. There are other people. So our former captain who just graduated, Milk, Uncounted Milk 42. I'll let you guys read into that as much as you like. But Milk would watch when we'd watch these games together, and he'd prefer to mute the TV and just watch the game because he doesn't want to listen to the casters,
Mm-hmm.
So everybody finds their own thing that's really interesting for them about watching the competitive scene. Sometimes people will watch our streams because they want to support us as a team. They'll watch our POV. So I'll have, when I used to stream, I had a couple of my friends would just watch my POV and just only watch what I'm doing because they're there to support me. And that's also a cool perspective because you get to hear, I'm talking about, they're calling Harry Potter and I get a text what the heck is Harry Potter? When did they put Harry Potter in this game? I thought that was a Fortnite thing, So it's always interesting having those moments and people go to support you, but they get to listen to what you're doing and have a lot of fun with that. We actually competed when we were playing from home during COVID. It was the funniest thing. I had my now girlfriend and my old roommate. They were upstairs watching my perspective. I was downstairs in my studio streaming the game while I was playing. They were not aware that part of the rules for streaming Siege, because each of the rounds is about 3 minutes long, to avoid people cheating, you have to have a 3-minute delay on your stream. So somebody can't be watching my stream and then just following where I am in game. So to avoid that, you have to have a 3-minute delay in your stream. My now girlfriend then was just my best friend and my roommate. They did not know I had a 3-minute delay on the stream. And so I had this game. So it was a 2v4, just me and our top fragger, Legends at the time. And I had really crazy 4K clutch to win that round.
Wow.
We came back and we won that round. And we got super hype in the chat. All right, so we're hanging out, whatever. Okay, on to the next round. 3 minutes later, these two bust in my studio door and they start cheering and clapping at me. I'm in the middle of the next round. For half a second, look up at them and I died. And I didn't even say a word. I looked so mad. I pointed at the door and they were like, oh crap. And they just closed the door and left. I was like, oh my God. It was.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it's very interesting. So people watch for different reasons, but they were watching to get hype and just watch and support me, having no idea the actual context of what's going on. Yeah, and so just they're 3 minutes after I did something really cool, they come to celebrate when I'm in the middle of another round. They had no idea. So So there's a lot of stuff like that where, it's a very hype ordeal, and like people watch for their own reasons, but sometimes it's not always work out the best as you would hope it to. But
That's amazing.
But yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff like that. And just because I've been thinking about this all podcast, because we mentioned all the cool call outs and just the weird stuff like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So they used to have a feature in competitive where it was called the sixth pick. So at the end of each of your pick phases, so everybody would pick their 5 operators, and you got to see who the other people were bringing. So we would have our 5 operators, and we would get to see for 5 seconds. You get to see what the other team is bringing.
Okay.
And so, like, as an attacker, you could see like, oh, they're bringing a pulse. So pulse, what he does is he can look through walls and stuff with a heartbeat scanner, and he can pick out where people are through hard walls.
Oh, that's crazy.
And so, or like above floors and whatnot. So usually when somebody brings a pulse, they're usually on like a bottom floor, so like a basement or a first floor. So that they can see when people are trying to play vertical, they can see where they are upstairs. So usually when somebody brings a pulse, it's like, okay, there's going to be a pulse, so they're either playing downstairs or pulse is going to be roaming downstairs. I'm going to bring a jackal so I can track his feet or something like that, or a lion so I can lock him in place so we can figure out where he is.
Oh, wow.
But the other side of that is sometimes you would bring a pulse and then you'd 6 off the pulse. And so you could switch from playing that pulse to somebody else. So now the other team is switching out a hard breacher for a jackal so they can track down this pulse. And now there's no pulse on the board. So it's called the 6-pick phase. So where a lot of it is like if you're bringing something like as an attacker, like, oh, they're bringing this, let's bring this character instead because that'll benefit us against this operator. So there's stuff like that.
It's like a mind game.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like mind games that goes on. But it kind of ties into like the fun callouts and stuff like that because CMU actually sent the Siege team to a LAN event down in South Bend, Indiana back in January of this year.
Okay.
And we got to compete against 24 other universities from around the country in person. Wow. So all of these Siege teams from around the country all met. So we had teams like from... we had University of Alabama, Huntsville. We had a team from Hawaii that was there. We had a couple teams from the West Coast. We were playing a game against Case Western Reserve University. And this was the first time the entire weekend that we had it, their team that was playing us was across from us. So they had like 4 different pods of 10 computers, 5 on each side. And usually you'd be playing somebody in a different space or like on the other side of this arena. Right. They were sitting right across from us. And so there was a lot of stuff where like we were trying to be quiet when we were making call-outs, but then there was other times where like we'd have Gage who would just be, and he loved playing Kali because she's got a sniper, and he would just sit outside and just pick people off the whole time. He would just shout at us from across the line, "Hey, I'm sixing the Kali, I'm sixing the Kali," and trying to get them to switch on to like somebody else. So he would just yell, "Hey, I'm going to do this," to try and get somebody else to switch. Oh my gosh. And then we didn't switch, but they switched because they heard them calling the Kali. So we see them talking to each other, and then they would call like, "Oh, they're sixing Kali." And so we would just not six the Kali. We just pick something else. And now we have like a counter to what they're doing. So the call-outs are very unique. So that would have been a good place where it's like, oh, if we had different names for things than what other people are used to, that would have been helpful. But it kind of worked to our advantage in that case where it's like, all right, well, they're going to be listening to what we're saying. Let's kind of like, let's play with them a little bit. Let's try and trick them. And it works. So they have Rook he has like these armor plates that he'll give people. And then Kali, she will instantly down somebody if she shoots them. Or like if she gets a headshot, she'll instantly kill somebody. But if you have this Rook armor, it brings you down. Like it just knocks you down, and one of your teammates can pick you back up. Okay. And so Rook is the counter to Kali. So we'd say, "Hey, we're sixing the Kali," and then they would pick up the Rook. So we would bring somebody to counter Rook, because we know that that's who they're going to pick now because they think we're switching. So there's a lot of strategy that goes into the game. But like we were talking about earlier with like the 6-pick and doing that kind of stuff, like there's a lot of mind games you can play, especially in person. And it's a lot of fun.
I think that's awesome. I love doing stuff like that, just doing all sorts of mind games, trying to figure out, okay, who's doing what, all that stuff. If I can look like L from Death Note, something like that, and just doing the back and forth with light, that's something that I always love. So...
So it's a very cool, very unique opportunity getting to be a part of something like this. And it's not even just the opportunity to like travel to this LAN event with like 4 of my friends that I've, become really close with over the last few years, there's so many opportunities you can have with esports other than just going to LAN events. You can just getting to know people. Like we would hang out all the time outside of practice just because, the more you like each other outside of practice, the easier it is to like mesh as a team,
Exactly.
So there's just so many opportunities for community building and to build new relationships and have these new opportunities, really cool things like LAN events and competition. And the biggest thing I always tell people is like when you're going to college, so it's kind of my pitch for freshmen, is like when you're going to college, everybody is looking for something to be a part of. Everybody's trying to find a place where they fit in. Because in high school, it's easy. Everybody's in the same building. When you're on the campus of CMU, like people are all over the place. You have classes, you have 15 minutes to get from one side of campus to the other for a new class.
And you barely know anybody.
And yeah, you don't know anybody half the time. So esports was such an easy way to get to know people and to build these relationships with people that you never would have met otherwise. And it's just such an easy way to find a place where you fit in, because even if you go out to tryouts and you don't make a team or whatever, like all of a sudden you're in the club Discord. You're just hanging out with people, you're playing online, just doing 10 mans every night, and then all of a sudden somebody's like, hey, who wants to go for coffee tomorrow? Everybody's looking for a place to fit in when you come to college. And esports is just such an easy community to become a part of, even if you're not a serious gamer, So that's my pitch for incoming freshmen and everybody else. Is just like, if you're looking for just something to be a part of, something new to try, esports is where it's at.
Honestly, that sounds like a great deal. And maybe, who knows, maybe I'll be a part of it. But I think that kind of wraps it up. And I think next week I'll probably be talking with you, maybe Phil, just to talk a little bit about the tryouts, how things are going, all that stuff. And who knows? I think that over the course of this mini-series, we will be covering each game and the captains to really understand what it is that they're doing, because Overwatch sure doesn't have a Harry Potter under their stairs. So tune in next time for the next episode. But anyway, see ya, everybody.